So, you're probably asking yourself, what makes these three so special? And the answer is nothing. Yet.
When Gearbox announced that they were going to do a sequel to Tales from the Borderlands, a lot of people were skeptical if they could do it, and that Telltale should do it since they did such a good job in the first one. I had the same train of thought, especially because Gearbox usually makes shooters instead of walk and talk choice-making games. I think they succeeded in making a great game and a worthy follow-up to Tales from Borderlands. The game was made during the lockdown. We were all in, and they say that in the credits and in an insert in the physical copy, which must have been very hard to make the game that way. Even more so since it's a game genre they haven't really done before, and Borderlands has a comedic element to it that has to be hard, riffing off of each other while writing and other collaborative efforts over a Zoom call instead of in person. One of the reservations I had was they would lean way too much into cameos and in-universe events and characters way too much, like Claptrap appearing and bug the characters. I gotta give it to Gearbox because they didn't do that. Sure, we interact with Reese. Marcus is the narrator. We see the other gun manufacturers, CEOs, and characters talk about the past Vault Hunters. That's all fine because it's not all in your face, and it makes the world of Borderlands feel connected, and it's nice to have these side games be canon. In this, we play as 3 new characters who are absolute losers, which is a nice change of pace from being the all-powerful Vault Hunters. Octavio, Fran, and Anu all have great models and voiceovers. They did a good job. I love how we'll see their faces scrunch up and see that in the animation. They all have great introductions and we see them grow throughout the 5 chapters. I found the pacing to be great, but I do think they could have had another chapter to flesh it out more and have a bit of more interactions. Anu and Octavio have a great sibling chemistry and total believable sibling behavior if you have siblings of your own. At some points it felt like Fran was spent too much time in the background, but they gave her some time to really shine. I found the story to be really well done, and I always wanted to see what happened to the characters next. I was sort of sad when it ended because I grew to love the characters like the first game. Episode 4 is somewhat predictable, which is fine, but some might not like that. I gotta give Gearbox a pass since this was their first game like this. With all Borderlands games, the humor will be hit or miss. For me, it gave me a few chuckles, but not full-on laughing. It's very hard to make comedy games, and it's nice that Gearbox is one of those that keeps trying. What I found somewhat different is there wasn't really that much downtime with walking around, trying to find items, and like other games in the genre. The amount of speed we walk is somewhat immersion breaking, but it's welcome in a gameplay sense. Slowly walking around is a pain in some games. Silly, super simple QTE battles. Vaultlanders, it's a in-game universe battle game where you're just fighting with figures of past Vault Hunters and some other new characters. Some battles are mandatory, but others are optional, and it's super easy to find them. And I found it to be super easy, but if you have trouble with QTEs, it may be a hassle, but thankfully there's some options in the game to up the timer or completely turn them off. The achievements are a nice change of pace from just getting them all from beating the games like older Walking Dead games. It's got a great chapter select. One of the issues is with multiple endings, you have to play it twice because you're only going to get 2 endings at a time, and there's no dialogue or cutscene skip, so you gotta really play through it twice. The other annoyance is getting all the cosmetics, which you can get from finding money from the walking around scenes. You can replay them over and over to collect cash. The best one is in chapter 5. Another one is the Vaultlanders. Some are super easy to find, some are tied to the endings, which is pretty annoying because you only get 2 per playthrough. Hopefully they can add a update for the next game. I highly recommend this game to try it out. It's a great ride for 10 to 11 hours, and I'm glad I picked it up.